Yo, what's up, Legacy Shinobi Squad? Today, we're diving into an absolutely insane what if. What if Naruto became the Demon Lord successor and conquered the elemental nations? In this dark and godlike tale, Naruto's life takes a twisted turn when he's chosen as the successor to the Demon Lord. Betrayed by those he once trusted and cast aside by Konoha, Naruto embraces his new destiny, unlocking powers that shake the very foundation of the world. With a dark, commanding presence and overwhelming strength, he sets out to conquer the elemental nations, toppling corrupt leaders and rewriting the ninja system. Along the way, he builds a terrifying yet loyal army and proves that even in darkness, he's the master of his fate. If you're ready for a story filled with epic battles, darker character arcs, and Naruto rising to unmatched power, then hit that like button, share with your friends, and subscribe for more. All right, let's step into the shadows and begin this legendary tale. Naruto dodged a punch that came from Shiro before countering with a kick to the half-demon dragon's ribs, followed up by a spin kick to the back of his head. This was how they spent the final day training, as this was their final sparring session during the last 3 years, when the Fox Prince wasn't training under Kyuubi's direction. During the time they had spent together, Shiro had told Naruto a lot about his past experiences when living in both Demon World and the human world. How Shiro trained under a strong fire demon named Hai and a fox demon prince of thieves named Kurama, who was a master plant manipulator like the Shodaime of Konoha was in his day. In fact, according to Shiro, the Shodaime could very well have been of Kurama's human kin, since on several occasions the demon blood mutated in their human descendants. It was a form of evolution in humans who were descended from demons, so their powers would be able to surface, so the demonic power locked away wouldn't eat at them from the inside. That was how blood diseases came up so much in the beginning when clans were first being founded, since not every child born in a clan could activate their demon blood, but rather it would leak out slower than cells could handle, causing a backing up of power within the cells. It caused the demonic cells that produced the bloodline traits to become poisoned, thus resulting in many deaths, resulting in bad blood, as it was simply called. Now, though it rarely happened since humans had evolved to a point where such a thing rarely happened anymore among clans, a person with a bloodline that didn't activate it properly never fell victim to the disease due to the body's physical tolerance to it. It surprised Naruto that Shiro, when in the human world, had once developed a very solid relationship with the now dead member of the Sound known as Taiyuya. It turns out that prior to Taiyuya's way of life as a member of the Sound wasn't all that bad, as Shiro made sure she was happy and helped train her to be strong. However, when Orochimaru came around, everything had changed, and Shiro had told her that she had one choice that would decide her future in life and their very relationship: to either drop the Sannin to pursue something more beyond their friendship, or stay with the deceitful missing ninja, only to die under false pretenses when Orochimaru had no longer considered in his eyes that she was useful. Her response was less than heartwarming. Apparently, the curse seal had also influenced the language center of Taiyuya's brain, as her response had quite a choice set of curse words added in for good measure. The curse seal had already bound her to Orochimaru's control, thus ending whatever relationship the two could have had together. When Shiro learned that Taiyuya was killed through his summons, he always sent periodically to check up on her to see if she had left the Sannin or was even alive. It had broken his heart knowing that what he told her had become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Naruto had told Shiro he was sorry for his loss, even though Shiro told him that he had no real reason to be sorry, since Taiyuya had made her own choice in life. Despite the tainted influence from the Sannin, the dragon half-demon knew that Taiyuya had made the choice to go with him willingly. All Shiro could do now was ask Naruto was that when he did return to the human world, that the fox demon kill Orochimaru due to his curse seal poisoning her mind. Naruto gladly agreed. "I still can't believe it's been 3 years since you came here to Demon World," said Shiro, as they now sat down on a nearby hill looking up at the sky. Nara Shikamaru's love for cloud gazing had apparently rubbed off on Naruto, and now it had rubbed onto Shiro as well. "I find that time passes much faster when you are having fun with a friend, regardless if it's in Demon World or Human World," said Naruto, knowing just how cheesy it sounded despite it being the truth. "Indeed. To be honest, I would go with you, Naruto, if I could, but when my father passed away, I was bound to fulfill my duties as his rightful heir to the dragon throne. The only reason it doesn't apply to you is because your father is still technically alive, albeit he's alive inside of you. But I think it's beside the point," said Shiro, getting up, followed by Naruto, who looked at his friend with concern. "There is more you want to tell me, but you're hesitant to do so." "Why?" said Naruto, as he was slightly worried at what his friend would say. "Naruto, I want you to realize the ramifications one has in being a long-lasting demon lord, as you are technically immortal with the exception of dying at the hands of another. When you decide to settle down with a special person, you must treasure her, as if she held your very soul, your very purpose for existence inside of her, and protect her with everything you have. Unlike me, when you mate with a woman you love, you will make her a demon like you, and will fall under the same rules as you do in terms of immortality. However, the humans in Konoha and anywhere else you may have connections with are not so fortunate to be given this ability to live as long as a god does. One day they, along with the people around them, will ultimately die, and as they die one by one you will feel pain in your heart because of it," said Shiro, wanting Naruto to be aware of this important fact. "Father has reminded me on several occasions of this fact, and I have made peace with the thought of outliving everyone I ever knew when I was human. However, as long as I have the memories of them in my heart when they pass on, I know they will never truly be lost to me," said Naruto, having spoken to his father about this several times during the past 3 years while his body slept, and had accepted this knowledge painfully before shoving it in the back into the dark corner of his mind. Shiro nodded before they both headed back. Human World Konoha. Tsunade was looking through various reports Shizen handed her, and was not pleased with what she saw in the slightest from the intel Jiraiya's spy network came up with. It had nearly been 3 years since the failed retrieval mission, and Orochimaru had been busy molding Sasuke into his new vessel to use in knowing all the jutsus in the world. As it stood, Tsunade believed it was foolish of the council to wanting to pamper the Uchiha as they did when he was loyal to the Leaf Village, and now it had come to bite them all in the ass. Of course, those old fools would never admit to being wrong, and only stated that had the demon brat not made Sasuke feel inferior, the boy wouldn't have left under false beliefs, which meant they blamed Naruto for the Uchiha's faults. As if Naruto had anything to do remotely with the Uchiha's defection, and if it did, it was because the spoiled boy wanted Naruto dead to gain the forbidden form of the Sharingan that Itachi had before killing off the rest of his clan. Like her grandfather and founder of Konoha, the Shodaime Hokage, Tsunade never did like the Uchihas when growing up, as they walked around all snobbish, as if they were the greatest clan in the world, and all those compared to their Sharingan were weak or was inferior to them. If there was a bloodline out in the world that was equal or had surpassed the Sharingan, Tsunade had no doubt that the Uchiha clan would have done one of two horrible things: marry into it or destroy it so no one could be their betters. Silently, the 5th Hokage felt Itachi had done Konoha a service that was long overdue, since she learned that many of the Uchiha had been against Naruto being alive at all. She also had a suspicion it was not simply because of the QB sealed inside of him either. But with nearly all the clan dead, Itachi with Akatsuki, and Sasuke with Orochimaru, she would never know. She doubted the council knew of such a secret reason behind the Uchiha's hate for her little brother, and if they did, they had no intention of telling her. They were most likely doing it just to spite her, since she didn't believe in their policies for their own needs and their hate for the boy. She had sent Jiraiya to look for any information about Naruto in the hopes the kid should pop up during that time, when the Sannin was trying to find out more about Akatsuki and a strange new yet small group that had made an appearance during the last 3 years. It was uncertain who they were or what they looked like, but they were considered nearly as infamous as the demon hunting organization, if not its equal. All that was known was they moved through the shadows and the mist, receiving orders from someone who was rumored to be their leader, but that person was an unknown at the time and would have to be for a little while longer. The 3 individuals all wore plain black cloaks with no symbols or designs on them to signify themselves as an organization, but clearly acted as if they were, hence the rumor of a shadowy 4th member and leader. The first one to be identified of the group, with the witness later dying from blood loss from his encounter, wielded a large sword with a metal mask covering the lower half of his face from the nose on down. The hood, having covered the remaining half, made the individual an unknown and was said to appear like a ghost before killing his targets. The second one wore a hunter mask with a soft voice that was said, if the rumors were to be believed, to rival an angel's own, before you fell in a bloody heap of flesh. This figure was just as lethal, if not more than the first, as the individual would kill you before you even knew you were dead, and at the hands of the two kodachis he or possibly she used. The third member was rumored to be the strongest of the three, yet younger than the large Zanbato-wielding ninja, but older than the one, who was a double kodachi user. This fearsome warrior was the silent of the three, had no seeable weapon to speak of, but was still considered deadly nonetheless, and never spoke a word around anyone around him. If he or she did, it was too muffled to determine the gender, but it was rumored that the warrior was a man since the figure had been referred to as a he. This unknown shadow of a warrior had an air of eyes filled with so much hate, as it was rumored that by looking into them you could see your own death, and all the demons of hell were waiting to greet you on the other side to rip your soul apart. They all went by apparent nicknames they gave each other to identify one another, and so they never had to go by their real ones during actual combat, as if the revealing of such knowledge was nothing but a death sentence. One was known as the Demon Ghost, the second soft-talking individual was known as the Black Angel, and the third quiet one was known as the Sins of Mankind. How did Tsunade know this? Tsunade knew this because Jiraiya's spy network had learned that both the sides Akatsuki and Orochimaru had tried to recruit them to their separate causes. The messengers that were sent by both groups were sent back the same day, rumored to be nothing but that of blood and remains of skin in a box meant to hold shoes. Tsunade also knew this aside from Jiraiya's spy network because one of Orochimaru's messengers was a root member under the command of Danzo. Of course, Danzo had deeply denied any connection to the matter, claiming the group had been disbanded for years now, and that the deceased shinobi joined the Sannin to be of someone's service. The council bought it, seeing no evidence to contradict the crippled man's words, and with them supporting him as it was, Tsunade doubted that unless the man was alive, confessing his guts out in front of them, and pointed the finger at Danzo, it would make little difference. However, what was more pressing was Danzo, and the council wanted Tsunade to send a team to do what Orochimaru or Akatsuki could not do by recruiting this group to the Leaf Village. They believed that such power would keep the enemies of Konoha at bay, but it would also sway Sasuke in coming back to Konoha for the power he was seeking to kill Itachi. The first reason the council gave, Tsunade could understand since IWA and Kyumo had become quite restless as of late. But the second reason made the Hokage's blood boil at them wanting to bring the Uchiha back simply for his damn bloodline. Those idiots are going to be the end of this village if something isn't done soon, thought Tsunade, letting out a sigh of frustration at this situation and wished for some sort of aid, whether it was intentional or not, to help her in this time of need. At a simple ramen stand, a boy with short dark hair with an angelic face sneezed a little, knowing that someone was talking about him, and possibly two others. "Are you all right, sir?" said I am, hoping this handsome young man wasn't catching a cold. "Oh yes, it must be someone talking about me," said Haku, smiling at her, making the girl blush slightly from the effect it had on her, before she unconsciously took the money he gave to pay for his meal as he left. "Flirting with women again?" said Zabuza, as Haku made his way into the dark alley before donning his cloak and mask once more. "Would you have me flirting with other men, Zabuza-san?" "Perhaps with you," said Haku, knowing that it was always fun to poke at the man when it came to their past relationship. "Shut up. I'm as straight as Kimimaro is albino now. Quit messing with me, or I'll ram my sword down your throat," said Zabuza before the two left to meet with the said albino, who was currently looking at the Hokage archives for all the dirt on the council he could give to Naruto later for leverage should he need it. With Kimimaro, the albino shinobi had taken a countless number of documents and stored them all away in storage scrolls, with each document dating the council's actions since the late third Hokage had been reinstated. The secret meetings that took place involving Naruto's fate the day after the sealing, decisions involving him being denied his inheritance that lead him to being in the orphanage for a few years before being kicked out. Secret meetings the main council had with the citizen council to make sure the boy pay 3 to 4 times the amount for things that were outdated. It was all here, and the main council was in on every aspect of Naruto's life, all with the plan to either have the boy killed, exiled, or in the case concerning Danzo, to be seen as a potential weapon for the village should any of the Kyuubi's chakra come out to make the boy hostile to his attackers on several of his birthdays. "The fools dare try to destroy my master. I will give this to Naruto-sama when he returns, and let him decide what to do with these power-hungry morons that dare to challenge a future king of all demons, thought Kimimaro before spotting the journal of the third Hokage piled on top of several papers that were clearly supposed to make the tiny book hidden should anyone ever enter the room. "Find anything useful?" said Zabuza as he and Haku came out of the ice mirror that the boy had formed to get to the room. "Yes, and possibly more. I wish Naruto-sama to see what I have found before I can truly appreciate my work in giving him the information he seeks. I understand from the last Fox summons that came to us 2 weeks ago that he is coming back soon and wishes to know of our progress with Akatsuki," said Kimimaro, knowing that the organization had been a bane on his master's existence that needed to be wiped out before going after Orochimaru and the Uchiha puppet. "If you got everything, let's get the hell out of here before we're all spotted and they put a bounty on our heads or something. We could probably take on this whole nest of arrogant weaklings no problem. But Naruto doesn't want that to happen just yet," said Zabuza, sensing people coming down the corridor outside the room. "In a moment, Zabuza-san, I want them to know that someone was here and that someone knows their dirty little secrets. I think Naruto-sama would agree, since it will put the fear of Kami in them. If this information ever got out, would make the village lose face with its allies," said Kimimaro, smiling cruelly behind his hood before tripping the alarm meant for an intruder in the Hokage Tower. "The only thing they need to and should fear worse than Kami is Naruto when he makes his return," said Zabuza before all three had entered the mirror and left without a trace of them being in the room. "Hokage's office. What do you mean someone stole from the restricted area of our archives?" said a now angry Tsunade before she smashed one of the two ANBU through a wall with her fist. "When we arrived to investigate Hokaitama, we found that the alarm was deliberately tripped as if to rub in our faces that they stole from under our noses," said the remaining ANBU shinobi still standing to give the report. "Find out what they stole, who it was, and do it fast," said Tsunade, glaring at the ANBU, who bowed before leaving in a puff of smoke. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" said Jiraiya, opening the window, having heard the entire conversation between her and the one ANBU, with the one being sent though the wall being sent to the hospital for treatment. "Where the hell have you been?" said Tsunade, deciding to take her anger out on Jiraiya, since he had been unable to find any information concerning Naruto or any regarding the mysterious three shinobi that had been causing messes throughout of the elemental countries. "What do you think? I've been trying to do my job in gathering the information that you keep demanding I try to get for you when I keep telling you it's impossible," said Jiraiya, looking slightly annoyed at Tsunade, kept wanting to bring Naruto back, and even though they knew that he was in Demon World, she still persisted that she find out more about him during his absence in Konoha. "It's nearly been 3 years since he left, damn it. Surely you and that blasted spy network of yours discovered something about Naruto or those strange 3 ninja running around," said Tsunade, irritated that her most valuable and trusted asset in Konoha wasn't having much luck these days as she was. "I've been looking for any sign of Naruto possibly popping up, but you know as well as I do that when it comes to training Naruto, we'll do whatever it takes to get stronger, even if it means cutting himself off from all human contact. I know you want him back in your arms, never to let free again, Tsunade. But even if he came back, I doubt he would want to be held in your embrace." "Eye on the hand," said Jiraiya, only to be punched out the window by the woman, who knew what Jiraiya was referring to. "Damn pervert," said Tsunade before she returned to her paperwork, much to her dismay at the size of it all. "Demon World. So I guess this is goodbye for now," said Shiro, holding out his hand, which Naruto took without hesitation, knowing that it would many years before the Fox Prince returned to the land of demons. "For now, as you said, but make no mistake, I will return. And when I do, we will pick up where we left off in our last spar," said Naruto in his newly modified fighting attire, now nearly 5 feet 8 inches to near a solid 6 feet, with his steel-toed boots, a black cape, black leather hat, and his sword with a crimson-black, striped hilt Nodachi-style sword strapped to his back, with the top of the hilt turning slightly circular with a fox skull in the center of the circle. Naruto's hair had also grown long and spiky, yet he managed to bend it to his will while being compacted in the hat without giving him hat hair when he took the thing off. His face had become more royal, with a sharp, strong chin, yet with a fox-like suave to it that would make women drool over him, and held a mischievous intent to all who fell prey to his well-calculated plans of attack. "I look forward to it. Take care, my friend, and know you will always have an ally among the dragon demons here or in human world as long as I draw breath," said Shiro, who knew that no form of dragon demon in either world would dare oppose his rule or who he considered an ally despite only being a half-demon. Naruto nodded and opened the portal to the human world before entering it to head back to right the many wrongs of the world, starting with Akatsuki. But before he could do that, he needed to send a message to a certain snake Sannin and one Uchiha Sasuke. Sound Village 2 days later. Danzo just sent us a message, Orochimaru-sama. He wishes to form a more solid alliance with us in order to fully take over Konoha rather than destroy it. After such an event, he wishes to use his newfound power and structure to aid us in taking over the other hidden villages in the other elemental countries, said Kabuto, handing his master the message for the Sannin himself to read. The fool is still consumed in the idea that constant wars with other will make the Leaf Village stronger. While I agree that only the strongest survive in war, it's the unnecessary ones that I try to avoid. All the same, this is something I cannot turn away from, as such an alliance will most likely be a benefit in the end. Send a message back telling Danzo that he has his alliance in exchange that the jutsus they take become mine to have as a form of payment, said Orochimaru, knowing that while Danzo did most of the work during a war, his men could simply take what they want, and on occasion, send the weaklings of sound to assist with the survivors being used for future experiments. Of course, Orochimaru-sama, said Kabuto, bowing before he left to set out on the task given to him by his master. Such an obedient servant, don't you think so, Sasuke? Said Orochimaru, looking over at his prized vessel to be, and grinned viciously at the Uchiha. Whatever. It's not like his existence matters to me. All that I want and matters to me is the power to kill my brother, said Sasuke, not even remotely interested in the Sannin or in his minions, but rather in the power they wielded that he wanted to make his own. And you shall once the Uzumaki boy returns from wherever he is hiding, and then you can kill him to get what you want to kill, Itachi, said Orochimaru, knowing that his vessel and the Kyuubi boy had unfinished business. Like that loser could ever be a match for me anymore, said Sasuke, glaring at the snake Sannin, though he was a little curious as to how strong the blonde-haired kid had gotten since their fight at the Valley of the End. The Uchiha had read the various reports from the spies in Konoha about what apparently happened to Naruto, and frankly Sasuke didn't believe it one bit. How could some loser gain favor from a demon lord? As an Uchiha, such acknowledgement should have gone to him, and not some ramen-eating nutcase who couldn't even graduate the first or second time at the academy. Never underestimate your opponent, Sasuke. It is what nearly the reason you nearly lost to Naruto, if I remember correctly, said Orochimaru, knowing that Sasuke hated to be reminded of that. The loser got lucky, said Sasuke, believing that was the only reason Naruto was bailed to stand up to him as long as he did. After all, what power could surpass an Uchiha? Soon, there was an explosion within Sound Village, making Sasuke and Orochimaru leave the throne room to investigate the disturbance. Orochimaru-sama, we're under attack. A warrior dressed in black and wielding a massive sword is killing Sound Shinobi left and right. We tried to engage him as a group, but he cut us down like we were insects, said a Sound Shinobi approaching the Sannin with only one arm and several slashes across his upper body, as well as some lower along the leg area. What? Said Orochimaru, looking at the source of the carnage not far from them, as the enemy had beheaded 2 of his minions in one stroke of his blade. Allow me to deal with this intruder, Orochimaru-sama, said Kabuto, knowing that while Sound Shinobi under the Sannin were not weak, they were in comparison to Kabuto. Fine, bring me his body to me intact for future study, said Orochimaru, watching from the sidelines with the Uchiha, who was watching the movements of the fighter with his Sharingan, but found he was incapable of copying them. How can I not copy it? I have the Sharingan, so my eyes should make all power that is another's mine, thought Sasuke, fuming at this development, wishing that he had the next stage of the Sharingan, so he would be able to do anything he wished. No sooner had Kabuto started entering the fray, did a heavy thick mist surround the 2 warriors, making the sound down intense at this, wondering if this warrior was an agent of mist. You seem nervous all of a sudden, Kabuto. Why? Surely your skills, given to you by the Sannin you serve, are enough for you to handle a weakling like me, said the figure with only the shadow of the figure appearing in Kabuto's sight. Your mocking could use some work, whoever you are. I am Orochimaru-sama's second in command, and I am not intimidated in the slightest by your skills or your tricks, said Kabuto. Though he was slightly intimidated by the power, he was now sensing from the man, wondering just how far this well of power went. Your usefulness will be at an end soon, and when that happens, Uchiha Sasuke will take your place before becoming Orochimaru himself. How does that make you feel, knowing that you are about to die and the arrogant prick the Sannin wants, as his new body will soon take your place as Orochimaru's second, said the figure, fading deeper into the mist, letting out a deep and seemingly inhuman chuckle as he did. You think I am some amateur that you can simply fool into believing your lies. I have no desire to die here, and I will not be replaced as you claim. I also know from how Miss Shinobi acts that they strike from behind when performing the silent kill technique they mastered. Gotcha, said Kabuto, sensing someone was behind him, and using his chakra scalpels to strike from behind only to find nothing but mist before him without even a hint of his foe. You are an amateur if you believe me to be a Miss Shinobi, said the figure from behind Kabuto, slicing off the man's right arm, making the medic ninja scream in pain at the loss of the appendage. Double? Who are you? Said Kabuto before letting out another scream as the ground was cut out from under him, or rather his leg had been cut off above the knee from under him, to be more precise. Don't you remember, Kabuto? You met me when you tried to recruit Tsunade to healing the Snake Sannin's arms after old man Hokage got through with him, and in the process, you nearly killed me by using your chakra scalpels on my heart, said the figure, moving from the depths of the mist, revealing one Kyuubi Naruto towering over the badly injured Kabuto. You? But how? How did you? How could you get this strong in such a short time? Said Kabuto while trying to move away from Naruto with his one good leg, only to find that two had been removed below the knee faster than the man could see. I don't share my secrets with the dead, said Naruto, thrusting his sword into Kabuto's chest before ripping out the pierced heart, thus ending the sound Jounin's life. Not even Kabuto could regenerate a heart he didn't have. By that time, the mist had cleared enough for Orochimaru and Sasuke to see Kabuto's life end right before their eyes, shocking the two of them to no end. They had, of course, heard the screams, but thought nothing of them, considering Kabuto's healing abilities with his chakra. Now they saw the Jounin on the ground with 3 out of 4 limbs cut off and a hole in his chest cavity where the heart once resided, only now in the long sword his killer now wielded. How could he do that to Kabuto? The intruder should have fallen easily to the skills that Kabuto possesses, thought Orochimaru, seeing the figure turn to look at him and Sasuke before walking away, casually, as if they were insignificant. Damn it! If that mist hadn't appeared when it did, I might have been able to copy some powerful moves to kill Itachi. How did that mist even come into existence when Kabuto fought him? Thought Sasuke, scowling and seething with rage at this warrior, who had all this power and had basically manhandled Kabuto like he was a weak genin. Do you want me to go eliminate him for you, Orochimaru? Said Sasuke casually, as if he were stronger than Kabuto. No, we need to repair the damage that was done to Sound. Besides, from the way that he easily defeated Kabuto, he would have killed you, Sharingan or not, said Orochimaru, not liking the eyes of the attacker. Are you saying that I'm weak, Orochimaru? Said Sasuke, glaring at the Sannin, who was walking away from him. After all the training I put you through, you are much stronger without a doubt, but you are nowhere near Kabuto's league, or mine for that matter. If that warrior could do that to someone of Kabuto's level, imagine what will happen to you if you face him. I doubt he will give you a chance to use your Sharingan or your Curse Seal levels 1 and 2, Sasuke, said Orochimaru before heading back inside to let his shinobi take care of the repair work while he planned to find out just who the hell that was. If I wasn't so sure of Orochimaru's power, I would say the man was actually afraid of this guy, thought Sasuke before walking off to do more training. So should he encounter the individual that killed Kabuto, he would have the exclusive honor of killing him. Elsewhere, did you enjoy killing Kabuto like that? Said Zabuza, having created the mist to keep the Uchiha out, but was able to see what was happening between Naruto and the Sound Jounin. After Naruto had originally arrived at the rendezvous point, the trio of shinobi that were his followers gave him the dirty secrets of the council and the Sandame's journal. They were all pleased to be in the presence of their master, as it had been 3 years since the boy, now young man, had been in the human world. In fact, Naruto had only communicated with them via fox demon summons that would relay messages back and forth from the two worlds. Yes, it was most enjoyable. However, he is but a pebble on the pathway to righting the wrongs of this world. The time for mercy and talking to bring peace are over. The time has come for those wronged to feel justice, and those who have done evil to others to be punished. Painfully, said Naruto, his red eyes glowing as he spoke, showing an unearthly, like fire in them that was practically surreal. If you do not mind me asking, Naruto-sama, but why did you not kill Orochimaru and Uchiha Sasuke? while you were in the village. Your power far exceeded their own, so why not end their lives sooner than later, said Haku, as he had been curious about that since the instant that Naruto came out of the portal from Demon World, they knew he was at a level far beyond anyone else. Because Haku, it would have been too early in the game to kill the two of them, since I will need them later on when Akatsuki is no more. Besides, in the 2 years to come we need to make our presence made known to all the people of the elemental countries. If we kill them now, it would simply get their attention, but not the need to seek us out for possible employment. Before the next year is over, I will make our group so infamous that even the daimyos themselves will wish to seek personal audiences with us, and that, my friends, is what I want to happen, said Naruto before leaping into the trees with his 3 followers right behind him. There was work to be done. Akatsuki Base, 3 months later. The room was completely silent and empty in the darkness, as that was how all 9 of the members of Akatsuki preferred it when meeting in this manner. It became a sense of calm when they met to discuss the nature of the plans they created and the progress on them that would always go as planned. However, right now things were not progressing as they had planned. The projectors in the room on the ground were a total of 9, with 1 being for each of the members of Akatsuki that were used to have their meetings when they were scattered throughout the elemental countries. At the moment the projectors started to activate, only 7 of the 9 showed shadowy figures of the members, meaning something happened to them. Sasori and Deidara are dead. This has become an unexpected development in our plans for the organization, since they are now unable to retrieve the demon within Sabaka no Gara. Even more is that we do not know the identity of the attackers, who were the ones responsible for slaying them, said Pain, clearly displeased with how things were going given the latest the organization's designs for the world. Could it be that new group we heard about 3 years ago? They sent our messenger back pretty nasty from what I understand, said Kisame, thinking of the only people capable of being a threat to them. It is a possibility, but it is highly unlikely since they do not have a reason to attack us to begin with, said Conan, as she looked at the others in the room through a projection. One does not need a reason simply to strike another, Conan-san, but merely a means to an end, I'm sure, said Itachi, looking at the projection of Haiden and Kaku, frowning slightly, as he did, noticing they seemed to be looking back every once in a while, as if they suspected someone was behind them. Do we have a problem, Haiden? Kakuzu, said Pain, now glaring at the 2 projections as Itachi did, which drew the attention of the other members in the group. No, Pain-sama, it's just, said Kakuzu before his form in the projection vanished, as did Haiden in a somewhat gory-like fashion, if the way their forms in the projection splattered was any indication. What the hell? Said Kisame, being the only one to say it outwardly, since everyone else was thinking it. I'm afraid Haiden and Kakuzu are currently indisposed of at the moment, distinguished members of Akatsuki. Would you like to leave a message for them with me? Said a now mysterious figure in a calm, almost serene-like voice, wearing a black hat, clothing, a dark cloth-like mask covering the lower part of his face, and a very long sword strapped to his back. Identify yourself, said Pain, frowning at this unknown and unforeseen foe. There is no need for that, leader of Akatsuki, for you will know my identity soon enough when my associates and I come for each and every one of you. However, I am not so rude or as heartless as you think I am, for I will tell you one thing about myself you may find to be quite interesting, said the figure, who now was joined by his followers, with each one filling an empty projector that once belonged to the deceased members of Akatsuki. And what may that be? Said Itachi, narrowing his eyes at the leader of the apparent 4 individuals that dared to oppose the greater majority. Like you, Itachi-san, I am from Konoha, and I too am marked to be killed by them, should I ever be caught. However, unlike you, Uchiha, I am not so weak that I have to hide like a coward behind an organization like this one simply to keep the 100 ninjas that our village would send out at bay. The same can be said for you as well, Kisame, as you know fully well that if it weren't for Mist Village's still weakened condition due to the chaos of the Bloodline Civil War, you yourself would become hunted down like a stray dog. Each and every one of your late or currently at the moment indisposed of members are now all boxed up, sealed up, and about to be sent straight to the elemental country of their birth. The respected daimyos of each country will receive a message with each box telling all of them just who did this to your pathetic little group. I want you all to know that I killed Orochimaru's right-hand Kabuto, and I'm going to be responsible for your organization's downfall. I welcome all of you remaining here today. To your worst nightmare, said the figure whose eyes now glowed an eerie red before he and the other two figures with him disappeared from their own projectors. How could he or his group have done that so fast? Said Kisame, looking at the others in the room, only to see them all deep in thought about the situation. They have been busy, apparently. They must have gotten information out of Sasori and Deidara before they died, knowing that those two would lead them to us. This has become most unsettling and must be dealt with swiftly with ruthless aggression, said Pain, seeing that this force that opposed them was causing a great setback for him and Akatsuki. Who should go hunt for them? If they could easily get rid of so many of our members of Akatsuki that quickly, then it may require more than just a two-man team to go after them all, said Conan, looking at Pain's projected form, who turned slightly towards her. That probably would be the best course of action with this group, considering our plans have been set back at such a pace that this can't be ignored. Very well, I, and another recent recruit not here at the moment will pursue this group while Itachi and Kisame go track down the QB vessel as planned, said Pain before the images faded out one by one, until only Pain himself remained. This is bad for our group, said Pain in the darkness, apparently to himself. You forget that it's quality, not quantity, that matters when it comes to fighting Pain-san, and you have more than enough of both to handle them, said a figure in the darkness, but from any of the projectors. Forgive me, Madara-sama. I am sure with your help under your disguise form that we will be able to destroy these rodents once and for all, said Pain to the true leader of the Akatsuki. You can repent for your moment of weakness later by killing those that dared to defy us, and more importantly, the Uchiha way of life, and submitting all to our power, said Madara, his Sharingan eye glowing dimly in the darkness. Yes, Madara-sama. I will meet you under your alias as Toby at the rendezvous point with Conan, said Pain before his projected form soon vanished, leaving only the founder of the Uchiha clan to bask in all its glory. Konoha Kage's office. Is this information true? Said Tsunade, looking at Jiraiya, who nodded with a frown of concern on his face. He was concerned because of the quickened pace in which the enemies of the Leaf, as well as the various shinobi villages, were dying. First, Kabuto's heart had been mysteriously dropped off at the Hokage's desk in a little wooden box with a note saying, "One less person for you to deal with, Tsunade. Signed, the 5 Shinigami Shadows." Second, word had reached Konoha of a small group, now targeting the 9 members of Akatsuki and slowly killing them off one pair at a time. After each kill, they were dropped off in front of their respected villages, or at least parts of their bodies anyway. The rest of the remains went straight to the country's own daimyos, who were all glad to see these unwelcome thorns now fully removed from their sides. Third, the now well-respected Kazekage of Suna, that was Sabaka no Gara, was to have been rumored to apparently see the group responsible for Akatsuki's sudden and untimely weakening. It was further rumored that the vessel of Shikaku had even offered them his personal protection, as well as the sanctuary of Suna if they ever needed it. Whoever the members of the group were, they must have been powerful and influential to earn the Kazekage's respect after one meeting. As true as your overly large breasts are real, said Jiraiya before he was sent into a wall via Tsunade's fist to his face. Perverted asshole, said Tsunade, though she probably should have seen that remark coming like all the others he used on her. Yeah, I love you too, said Jiraiya, getting off the hardwood floor he slumped down to after leaving his own imprint on the wall. Be serious with me this one time, Jiraiya. Just how powerful and influential has this new group become? Said Tsunade, looking at her old teammate with a serious expression. It's hard to say, really. I know they met with the Kazekage and the Wind Daimyo, but for some reason they won't go to IWA or Kyumo unless they already did. It would explain the reason why Kyumo is so quiet right now, but it's hard to say for certain. It's been rumored that Kyumo lost a shinobi shortly after rumors of their visit came, but who was apparently taken is short-lived by the higher-ups there, said Jiraiya, knowing that for the rakeage of Kyumo, to keep such information from getting out meant that this missing ninja and new member to this shadowy group must have been someone they didn't want free from their grasp. Not willingly anyway. What about Mist? Said Tsunade, knowing that people like them would and could thrive on the violence that village created. Not a chance. Mist Village is still trying to recover from its own fallings and right now is considered a continent of bloodshed, so I doubt they will go there anytime soon to that place. I did hear several rumors that the Fire Daimo wants to speak with them soon in regards to staying Orochimaru's hand with any possible future invasion with the death of Kabuto, said Jiraiya, knowing that out of all of the daimyos in the elemental countries that Fire's was the most influential of them all. The fact was that if the rumors were true, that their feudal lord wanted to see these for then, they must have the power to rival all three Sannin themselves. It was actually a scary thought considering that they held allegiances to no one but each other, and even then no one knew how far that rabbit hole went. Can you get one of your more reliable spies present during this meeting if it ever takes place? Said Tsunade, knowing that Jiraiya's spies could always get in the most hard-to-reach places for necessary information. I don't know. From what I learned, the meeting with the Wind Daimyo was just 6 people in the throne room with no bodyguards present. Apparently, the meeting was so secret that not even the guards outside the room knew what was happening and were tempted to find out just in case their feudal lord had been secretly assassinated, said Jiraiya, as that had never happened before when it came to meetings with people of such high stature. The Fire Daimyo is the most powerful and influential of all the feudal lords, so I doubt he will have the meeting with them alone considering their power. He won't be as naive as the Wind Daimyo in regards to this, I can assure you, said Tsunade, knowing that when you are in that kind of position with power, you tend to have the means to protect yourself even against the slyest of shinobi. This group seemed to fit the bill perfectly. Well, all I know is these guys have made Akatsuki now direct their efforts on them, and Orochimaru is keeping Sasuke in sound for further training, said Jiraiya, sighing at the last part, wishing he had more time in training Naruto than he gave the boy. Hell, the man should have been there for the kid, but in his stupidity and perverseness, the Sannin failed the boy in every sense of the word. Was this how Sarutobi-sensei felt when it came to Orochimaru? Thought Jiraiya, as he couldn't help but think what was going on through the old monkey's head at the time. I was thinking of getting a small tactical team together to send after the group to hire to assist Konoha in his time of need against Orochimaru. With the Chunin exams coming up here in Konoha in 2 more years, I figure it would be the perfect time for the bastard to strike us again, said Tsunade, knowing that Orochimaru always did things twice, with the second time being slightly different than the first. They will never go for it, Tsunade, and even if they did, the council would try to demand too much from them in terms of working for Konoha. It would kill any future hopes of a stable contract to possibly use should they be needed again later in another dark chapter of Konoha. You know what, the council is like Tsunade when they try to get what they want and they threaten to use force to get it. They did it with Sensei, the Yondaime, and they will find a way to use it on you when they see the opportunity brought before them, said Jiraiya, knowing how the council acted when Tsunade informed them she was going to the daimyo to appeal the order for executing Naruto, and they threatened to remove her from the position of Hokage before marking her an S-class missing ninja. Her response was sending an elderly council member through a wall and daring the rest to follow through with the threat. They wisely decided not to. Still, I have nothing to lose, and I need all the help I can get. I was thinking of using the rookies since they've been growing at a fast rate ever since they found out about what the council tried to do to Naruto, said Tsunade, her eyes showing sadness at the looks on all their faces when they were told. She actually had to have Ambiyu keep them all at bay from going on a killing spree. Even more so when they learned what was sealed inside of Naruto along with the rest of the village. Though from the looks on some of the younger generation, when the news got out, I'm willing to bet the parents broke the law before the ink even tried on Sarutobi's decree, said Jiraiya, seeing some of the kids around Naruto's age not showing any kind of surprise at all. This is why I had those said parents taken to Ibiki for questioning, while I had Kurenai place their kids under a teaching Genjutsu Irika created 2 years ago to deal with the trio of pranksters that are Naruto's disciples. It makes them all think they should go home to learn something taught at school that day, and is normally used on the most misbehaved members of the class, said Tsunade, smirking at Irika's idea, only to see the trio recover from it later and prank the poor man by planting a super fudge packed brownie right on his seat before he sat back down. It didn't help that Shizen had just opened the door to speak to Irika when he sat back up from sitting down. The end result made the medic shinobi see what appeared to be a full-grown man and Chunin teacher losing control of his bowls, putting the teacher in quite the embarrassing position, looking like he had literally crapped right through his pants. The Konohamaru Corps were, not surprisingly, sick for the next couple of days, most likely to avoid Irika's wrath since he knew, and or at least suspected it was them. What did you find out from them? Said Jiraiya, knowing that the only people that knew about the Kyuubi and Naruto were the council. I learned that those asshole adults had told their children in private about Naruto, and the Kyubi only in more exaggerated terms, preferring that the safety of their families came first over the Hokage's law to protect a demon. I made sure Anko had a go at them after that, just for good measure, just to teach them all a lesson before I had them executed for breaking it originally. The council tried to argue, saying that since the law was now void, so should their punishment. I, however, argued that since they broke the law when it was still in effect, that the punishment being death was mandatory regardless of their protests on the matter. Said Tsunade, knowing that the council had done this before with the Sandaime, only with various other loophole laws when someone attacked her little brother. Well, at least you made the public more wary of speaking ill of the kid, knowing that if you don't get to them, his friends will, said Jiraiya, seeing how Lee went on a rampage in the market district after he was considered healthy again to train. Fortunately, the excuse that was used was that he had somehow gotten his hands on some sake, making the spandex boy go all out on the people around him, so no charges could be filed. That will only last for so long, Jiraiya, and when it does run out, the public will demand that their would-be attackers be punished, and they will look to the council to do it, said Tsunade, knowing that this form of mediocre justice for Naruto could only last for so long. It's still better than nothing, Tsunade, and in this case, I think it's preferred. Anyway, you get that little list of people together, and when you feel you are set, I'll round them up for the mission, said Jiraiya before leaping out the window while ignoring the now yelling Hokage to use the door like a normal person. Sometimes the woman wondered if she should have the windows replaced by solid walls, and just cast a Jinjutsu to make it look like windows to make Jiraiya stop doing that. Capital of Fire Country. 2 weeks later, nighttime. I've never been to Fire Country before, or at least its very capital where the Fire Daimo resides, said Ni Yujito, looking out past the curtains of their hotel room on the higher-up floors meant for the more expensive customers, having snuck in as to not tell anyone of their presence in the capital. The former Kumo, shinobi, and demon vessel of the Nibi Cat Demon was forever grateful for this group of roguish shinobi that saved her back in her former village, as she felt her safety could no longer be granted there. The people in Kumo had always tried to hurt the young woman ever since she was a little girl, but such harmful attempts had been foiled by the Reikage, who was her legal guardian. However, only recently did the Council of Kumo decide that Yujito had lived just long enough for their tastes and apparently, in their minds, the Reikage's amusement. The oh-so-honorable members of the council had come together and ordered that she either be executed or be used as a way to breed a new bloodline for future use of the village due to the cat demon's chakra running through her coils. Fortunately, the Reikage, despite having his hands figuratively tied behind his back in the matter, was able to convince them to let Yujito decide her fate. Since it would be the last true free will act, she could have the council didn't seem to mind, and Yujito knew that no matter the choice, the council won in the end. That was before they showed up. Yujito had only heard of them recently as the rumors spread through the shadows of the shinobi world about them, and she herself thought of them only as a myth. She had been mistaken when she later heard the rumors of a large portion of Akatsuki being eliminated by their hands, thus freeing her from their potential capture, and yet again upon all four of them entering the meeting room. Several EMBU had tried to stop them, but were beaten really badly or were crippled into submission before falling at their feet. When the council had demanded why they were in their presence, Yujito noticed only the Reikage did not rise from his seat and remained a pillar of calmness. The leader of the group, she would later learn to be Konoha's former shinobi demon vessel Uzumaki, now Kyubi Naruto, silenced them with intense killing intent. The result made the council members fall back into their seats, grasping at their chests, trying in some vain attempt to get the hearts in their bodies working again. Flashback. Despite our method of gaining your acknowledgement for this meeting, we mean Kumo no harm, seeing as your AMBU lying on the floor before us are still alive, if just barely. We are here to take Ni Yujito away from Kumo after having learned of what this place intends to do with her that we do not believe is your right to do, said Naruto, walking right up beside Yujito before putting a comforting hand on her shoulder as she looked up at him. I see. How did you know what was happening here today, if I may ask, Leader-sama? Said the Reikage, since he did not know the man's name. We have been in Kumo in secret for some time, watching, listening, and waiting for this day to happen, Reikage-sama, so that when it did, we would act upon it. We see no possible future for Ni Yujito within your ranks, considering you have failed to protect her today when she needed you the most. So after careful consideration among my followers, we agreed that the best solution to this problem is to extract Yujito-san from Kumo and have her become our newest member. said Naruto, smiling behind the part of his cloth mask that was hidden from view. She will never be allowed to go with you. I don't know who you think you are, but you, sir, have no sway here despite what you may believe, said a council members, who had been looking forward to this day for over a month and a half with every intention of the ends meeting the means of himself along with his fellow council members. Actually, I do. Prior to my visit here, I met with your daimyo and showed him some of your more sensitive documents you have stored away. You see, I know the truth behind what happened in Konoha during that incident with your so-called ambassador 13 years ago, when the council deliberately hid this bit of information from both the daimyo and the Raikage himself, said Naruto, throwing a scroll to the Raikage, who caught it with ease before opening it, and reading the contents of it while the council members started to sweat nervously. You did this behind my back, said the Raikage, losing his calm composure, as he rose up as he stared at the documents before him. Yes, they did, Raikage-sama. You see, the Kumo ambassador you sent had been given a second set of orders from the council despite you and your daimyo wishing for peace to happen between both Kumo and Konoha. This council ordered the man to kidnap the Hyuga heiress, or at the very least a main branch family member of the clan, since his status as ambassador would be able to allow him access within the Hyuga compound. During his time there, the man went right for the Hyuga heiress. When he was killed, the man died of a small dosage of poison after biting down on a pill hidden in a fake tooth in his mouth after he was struck by a gentle fist attack that hit his chest. The small amount of poison used would be undetectable unless you were the slug Sannin Tsunade, who at the time was not in Konoha, said Naruto, eyeing the council members with a great deal of hate, knowing they were the ones that caused both Hinata and Niji's side of the family so much problems. I told you I wanted peace due to the low amount of shinobi we had while they're still outnumbered us by a small but significant number, said the Raikage, looking down at the quivering members of the council, who knew they were in for a world of hurt. Arika-chan, please, said another old council member, only to be backhanded by the infuriated Kage. I've heard enough from all of you. Guards, said the Raikage as a new set of ANBU shinobi came into the room. Yes, Raikage-sama, said the ANBU captain, looking slightly at Naruto behind his mask, wondering what his lightning shadow would want. Arrest all the council members before you on the charges of treason while attempting to usurp the orders of the Raikage and lighting daimyo, said the Raikage, nodding towards Naruto, who nodded right back as a show of respect and understanding between them. In flashback, in the end, all the Kumo council members were killed immediately, since a trial would be pointless to have since they were guilty as hell. The Raikage, out of gratitude, had granted the request made by Naruto on the grounds that Yujito's identity as their newest member stay only with him, since they preferred to keep to the shadows of the shinobi world. The Lightning Shadow agreed before hugging the young woman goodbye, since he had always seen her as the daughter he never had. None of us have Yujito-san, but we're here now anyway on account of the rumors flying around about the Fire Daimo wanting to see us, which I confirmed with a fox summons a few hours ago. I sent Zabuza and Kimimaro out to scout around while Haku is spying in his civilian clothing since he can blend in easier than the other two, said Naruto, since no one would suspect the boy from being a shinobi with a face like his that would make you think the boy had such an angelic face. If they only knew Haku was not the good kind of angel, but rather the darker one. It does make sense since albinos are quite rare no matter where you are, and the sight of one would surely draw attention that you don't need, said Yujito before she turned to face the young leader in question. We would be the correct term here, Yujito, since I think about the group as a whole more than myself, which is the case here. Zabuza is infamous no matter the area we are in, but he's sneaky as hell, so I can trust him to get out of tight situations if he's ever in one. I am also well aware he can't be seen in public, since he was declared dead, and Kimimaro was the former bodyguard of Orochimaru, who the Sannin believes died during the attempt of getting Uchiha Sasuke over to his side. For now, I want the world to continue seeing them as just that, until the time is right to reveal ourselves to the world. And what we can do, said Naruto, knowing that his time spent with his group, traveling the elemental countries, getting stronger, meeting old friends that thought you were dead, and killing off missing ninjas scattered all over that didn't deserve his mercy for the hefty, some could be hellish in itself. My apologize, Naruto-sama, said Yujito, hoping she didn't infuriate her new leader to the point he struck her for her stupidity. There is no need to apologize, Yujito-san, since you are new to the group. But for now, we need to give you a nickname that will inspire fear in our enemies, said Naruto, as he thought of what to name her. How about Hell's Feline? said Yujito, offering her own, since it would seem fitting given her current status as a demon vessel of the Nibi cat demon. That's quite good actually. Hell's feline, it is Yujito-san, said Naruto now with a smile hidden from view, though Yujito could still see from the way his facial muscles moved from the upper exposed part of his face. He then handed her a dark cloak with a cat ANBU mask he took from the wreckage, who gave it to him to further help conceal her identity from those the group may encounter. It wasn't long before Haku returned via doorway after knocking 3 times to confirm it was him, while Kimimaro and Zabuza entered via partially opened window under the hinge of birds. From what they gathered, the Fire Daimyo was well guarded and had a considerable strike force of Konoha Leaf, Shinobi, all ranked Jounin, where ANBU recently transferred to keep an eye on him. Apparently, Tsunade didn't trust them with the Fire Daimyo as far as she could throw Jiraiya with one of her punches, and considering how strong she was, that was saying something. She probably believes she can have her Shinobi with the Fire Daimyo while we have our meeting with him, said Kimimaro, trying to think on the matter how Tsunade would try to have a solid reason for the Shinobi near the feudal lord. That's what I want you, Zabuza, and Haku to take care of them all tomorrow, while I and Yujito-san speak to the Fire Daimyo to help clear up certain political matters that need to be brought to his attention. Just disable them, but no killing unless it's unavoidable, said Naruto, since it would help leave a better impression with the old hag if the Shinobi were sent to the hospital rather than the morgue. Granted, they would probably be put in the hospital wing for those in critical condition, but at least it wasn't in a body bag for Tsunade to inspect back in Konoha. Yes, Naruto-sama, said the 3 former Water Country-born Shinobi, bowing to the man before they all decided it was time to sleep since it was getting late. Naruto and his group leaped from one rooftop of the buildings of Fire Country to another as they headed to the Capitol building to speak to the Fire Daimyo. The people below that were walking through the streets carrying on with their lives had no idea that an infamous group of shinobi about to see their feudal lord. Naruto wondered what would happen if they were to accidentally land on the streets to make themselves known to the people who went about their everyday lives. Would they scream, call for help from the police, or shinobi? Cheer them and call them heroes? Hold a parade? Maybe not the latter of all the options. But the cheering one did seem possible, though that was still as likely to happen when Sasuke finally admitted he was gay, deciding to let such thoughts die in his mind. Naruto soon made their way into the castle-like structure without being detected by the outer wall guards. The group made their way into the inner sanctum of the Fire Lord's home, finding the team of Leaf, Shinobi, standing guard outside the room. According to Zabuza, who had more than once visited the Water Daimyo when the country was still solid, knew that feudal lords have well-armed escort in the form of a large standardized force of veteran samurai bodyguards. The only reason that they had been able to meet with the last 2 daimyos in Kyumo and Wind Country in private was mostly out of sheer luck and the influence from the kages of the shinobi village they supported. This time, though, all they had to show was a dead traitor of the Leaf that was Kabuto, which, while still impressive, would not provide the leverage they needed for the private audience Naruto wanted in order to prevent possible spies from hearing the conversation. "Shall we proceed, Naruto-sama?" said Haku, readying his sunbond needles in his hands, ready to strike at a moment's notice. "Yes, Haku. Again, do not kill them unless it is unavoidable. If and when I do return to Konoha, I would rather not have that bastard council have a reason for trying to kill me," said Naruto, knowing that it wouldn't be long before he ended up back in Konoha to save their sorry asses with the exception of a select few. Naruto also made a mental note to himself that he needed to see Hinata again, and for a moment, he thought of how she had no doubt grown up into a strong shinobi. "I will see her again, and maybe, just maybe we can be together," thought Naruto, as his mind recalled her scent had traces of lavender flowers that his instincts in his mind called to him to smell off her again. Putting his personal feelings away for the moment, Naruto and his group attacked, first catching their opponents off guard since none of the Leaf shinobi had prepared for a full frontal assault. Haku hit several chunin with his sunbond needles before using several B-ranked wind jutsus to knock several more into the walls around him. Zabuza hit several jounin with the width part of his large sword, while incorporating a taijutsu style into it that he had learned from scrolls the group had found in a small village that had tried but failed to become a shinobi village. Kimimaro made a bow staff from using his bloodline limit, giving many of his opponents concussions or broken bones in various places of their body where he struck them. Yujito simply used kunai to damage, but made sure to only give them wounds that would require them to retreat or seek out medical attention. As for Naruto himself, he merely moved around the battle, hitting Jounin's left and right as he moved to the door holding the Fire Daimyo. When you report back to the Hokage, tell her that we are unimpressed, and you should all go back to the academy to relearn the basics, said Naruto now in front of the double doors, only to hit someone behind him without looking back before opening to enter the large room. Yujito quickly followed him, while Kimimaro, Zabuza, and Haku kept guard outside the door should any more shinobi or possible samurai show up uninvited. As Naruto expected when he and Yujito entered the large room, there was a small army around the entire area, with the Fire Daimyo himself sitting on his throne with a stone face of passiveness that was not unlike Naruto's own. The feudal lord himself was by normal daimyo standard a well-built individual that was not the usual sniveling bureaucrat like the council in Konoha, but rather someone who trained himself to be worthy of the title of daimyo. The man sitting on his somewhat lavish throne was starting to show his age to be around his mid-40s, but at the same time he still held himself as if he were still in his 20s. The man had green eyes, brown hair, and a faint scar on his right cheek going up to the corner of his eye, though whether the man got it from training one day when he was with one of his instructors or surviving an assassination attempt as a child, Naruto did not know. "Thank you for letting us have this meeting, Daimyo-sama," said Naruto, bowing to the Fire Lord with Yujito doing the same. "The pleasure was all mine, though I am curious as to why you and your group decimated the shinobi force given to me by Konoha," said the feudal lord with his eyes piercing into Naruto's, knowing that if the Fox Prince was telling a lie, he would see it. "They were too lax in their guarding of this room, and had we been come here to kill you, we would have succeeded in getting closer than anyone else has," said Naruto, since it was not difficult to kill them all regardless of the numbers disadvantage. "Quality always dominated over quantity. While that is a valid point, I do hope you won't try anything with my bodyguards here, since they are quite sharp with their own skills," said the Fire Daimyo, seeing Naruto look around the large force of samurai, who were all willing to die for him. "They all look impressive, and I have no doubt that they are quite skilled with a blade, as I'm sure you are should by some chance they fail to protect you. However, I am no threat to you, just as I am no threat to the previous feudal lords I have visited in my travels, which I am sure you are quite aware of," said Naruto, knowing that the Fire Daimyo was aware of such visits to the other lords of the elemental countries. "All the same, Leader-sama, I hope you will respect my decision in letting my guards stay here as to side on the air of caution," said the Fire Daimyo calmly, though he wondered if the man before him would raise a small fuss. "It is your decision to make, not mine. I merely wish to talk to you away from potential spies who would try to use our conversation to their advantage. I assume you are aware of the Akatsuki turning their attention towards us, and we both know that Orochimaru is not exactly letting the slayer of his second-in-command just go away unpunished," said Naruto, taking a few steps forward until they were less than 20 feet away from each other. "Yes, the reports given to me about such news were most impressive on your part to get everyone in all the elemental countries to recognize your group. Many had speculated that the original three were under the command of another, which turned out to be you. Though from what I see, this lovely lady standing behind you is clearly a new member of your group, bringing it to a total of 5 members," said the Fire Daimyo, knowing that even with the cloak and mask over her form, the woman walked with a more feminine grace that the feudal lord recognized oh so well. Being around so many of his harem at night allowed him to see such things. "While I respect the fact that your eyes are very sharp, Daimyo-sama, I am not here to talk about such things with you. I am here because I wish to discuss some important and quite sensitive information with you concerning the Leaf Village," said Naruto, knowing that the mentioning of Konoha would get the daimyo's full attention. "Oh, and what information do you have that I do not know of already?" said Fire Daimyo, now looking at Naruto with a small scowl, with a mix of curiosity in his voice. "Tell me, Daimyo-sama, have you ever heard of Uzumaki Naruto and the trials he went through in a place that hated him so?" said Naruto could help but smile behind his mask. The bait had been hooked, and now it was time to reel in the big fish. Naruto pulled out the Sandame's journal, a storage scroll, and from there a long talk with the Fire Lord had begun. "Konoha, 2 weeks later. What do you mean the Fire Daimyo is giving Konoha a 40% budget cut?" said Danzo, looking quite upset at the moment at this horrible news. "It was advice given to the Fire Daimyo from his new advisor, since the ones you all sent to gain favor with him were killed for reasons the man won't state. However, from what the letter given to me says, certain people in this room deliberately tried to go against the wishes of the Yondaime and the law set by the Sandaime regarding Uzumaki Naruto. The people who broke into the archives a while back took the third's journal he wrote in after he was reinstated and was given to the Fire Daimo to read, said Tsunade, who was surprisingly looking calm on the outside, but you could see she was brimming with rage that wished to come out in waves. Surely this is some kind of lie, said Hamura, who was starting to sweat and wondered what the Sandaime put in that journal. He sent me some copies of the pages in the journal to read, and I must say, had I known what you did according to what was written in these pages, I would have called for all of your heads years ago, said Tsunade, yelling the last part at the cowering council members of Konoha, knowing that whatever she had read was powerful enough to invoke her wrath. We had to Hokage-sama. The demon needed to be restrained, controlled, and if need be killed for the sake of the people of the village, said Koharu, trying to remain calm at the infuriated woman, now ready to send them all to the emergency room at the hospital. No, you did it out of your own personal hate for the Yondaime and the Sandaime, who wanted to replace you with younger, more level-headed council members. You couldn't stand the fact you were leaving your positions because change was coming, and so you did everything in your power to ensure that change, or not, you would still be in power to make the Yondaime's legacy suffer. It's all of you that have no shame, and you are all the reason why Naruto was hated so much when he was younger. The pages I've read from Sarutobi's journal gave me the short and clean version of what you let happen to Naruto at the orphanage. Hamura, you told the lady to try and starve Naruto, to have the kids beat on him for extra food and blankets at night, and how you had bordered on the law by telling parents to stay away from adopting Naruto. You had the orphanage woman lie to them by telling them all that he was the son of a bastard father and a whore mother, who died from the diseases she got from various men she slept with. The third wanted you all dead, but there was no one to replace you, so he had no choice but to keep you all around until someone more fitting could take your seats, said Tsunade, seeing them all squirm under her gaze. He was and still is a demon. Demons have no place in our world, Tsunade. The human race is the dominant species on this earth and therefore rule over it. Not the abominations like the Kyuubi brat. Not abominations like the Sand Demon Suna had elected as their new Kazekage, but naturally born human Tsunade, said Danzo, not going to shrivel up like his spineless council members were under her gaze. They are naturally born, you fool, and for your information, if it was not for Naruto, you would be nothing more than fox shit after the Kyuubi got though with you, said Tsunade, turning her rage-filled eyes on Danzo, who had the decency to flinch at her gaze. As much as I would like to see them quake under your rage, Hokage-sama, I have a feeling that you will all want to hear this, said Jiraiya, entering through the window with a smirk on his face, as if he the cat had eaten the canary and gotten away with it. Jiraiya? What are you doing here? So soon, you pervert, said Tsunade, knowing that the man was sent out to find out where Naruto was, since the kid had told Hinata that after 3 years he would show himself to her again, but still had yet to do so. No respect. Honestly, if more women would stop being so stingy and picky about every single thing, then men wouldn't be so perverted, said Jiraiya jokingly, only to stop when he heard cracking knuckles that came from Tsunade. Just tell me why you're here, said Tsunade, as she was in no mood to deal with her old teammates' shenanigans. Fine. If you must know, I made contact with Naruto, said Jiraiya, smiling again at seeing Tsunade's facial expression turn from angry to happiness. The council, of course, didn't seem so ecstatic about the news. And you didn't kill him? Said Koharu, looking at the Sannin in disbelief, since they had ordered him to kill the boy should the two ever meet. Why would I do that? You may have sent those orders to me after Naruto escaped your clutches from you wanting him dead, but as a Sannin, it's my choice if I wish to follow through with it if I want to. Besides, from my understanding in terms of current events, the Fire Daimo is not exactly pleased with how you treated the boy. This, of course, is the end result of this village's feudal lord now hurting Konoha financially right now as we speak because of your hatred for both of Tsunade's predecessors, said Jiraiya, as his eyes narrowed in the end, wondering what the council would do next. I say we dispatch our best hunter ninjas. Find the Kyuubi, so they kill that demon once and for all, said Danzo, as he was not going to have this demon vessel push him or his ideas for Konoha's future around. You can't, since the Fire Daimo won't let you. After reading Sarutobi-sensei's journal, the Fire Daimo has decreed that should any harm befall Naruto at the hands of any of Konoha's shinobi, it will result in complete shutdown of funding. He's not the only one to give such an order, as the Lighting Daimyo and the Wind Daimyo have decreed the same thing, said Jiraiya, finding it amusing that the people that wanted Naruto dead couldn't lay a hand on him, now thanks to the powers that be higher up. Where is Naruto now? Said Tsunade, hoping she could send someone to meet with her little brother to convince him to come back home. He's in another country right now on business for the Fire Lord to arrange further trade agreements. But he forbid me from telling since he didn't want anyone in Konoha to try and come after him. From the way your outburst, Danzo, and the rest of the council, he guessed you all right on the money. Don't worry though, since where he is headed there is already Leaf Shinobi in the area, and they were informed of this new policy made by the Fire Daimyo. Does Naruto want to come back? Said Tsunade, hoping the boy would return to his home despite the problems it had. If need be, she'd execute every single one of the arrogant bastards that hated him. Maybe. When I first ran into him, the first thing I did was beg him to return to Konoha, so everyone that cared about him would be happy. His response was, well, giving me quite possibly the beating of a lifetime that was within an inch of my life, and I mean that in a literal sense. The only other time that happened was with you, Tsunade, when we were still kids, said Jiraiya, smirking at the memory, though he winced at Naruto's, since the look in the boy's eyes when he delivered the punches were emotionless. Yet they were filled with so much hate. It was as if Naruto was picturing Konoha in general on Jiraiya when the beating started. Wait, when did you run into him if he did that to you? Said Tsunade, wondering how long it had been since the two had met, considering the form of beating Jiraiya had just described to her. About 1 week ago. He healed most of my injuries afterwards and then dumped me off at a nearby hospital before telling the doctors to only have male nurses tend to me while I was healing from the rest of them. Even now, the kid discriminates against the ways of the pervert, said Jiraiya, wishing he had seen a single female doctor or nurse during his time recovering. But due to Naruto, he had to wait until he had fully recovered. Even then, when Jiraiya approached several nurses when he did, they seemed to be armed with a lot more needles than they should have been, and it had made the Toad Sannin feel very nervous. If he beat you within an inch of your life, how do you know his response was a maybe, as you so easily put it? Said Hamura, looking at the Toad Sannin with suspicion. Because if he had wanted it to be a flat-out no, he would have killed me or left me to die from my wounds after he beat the crap out of me. Naruto told me while he was healing my broken body that if he decided to return to Konoha, it would be on his terms, not yours. If we send a team out after him, I suspect he'll send them back and in many pieces to get his point across about coming back on his own terms, said Jiraiya, his face now turning serious, knowing that if the boy wanted he could kill them all in a sneak attack they would never see coming. I see. Is it possible for you to speak to him again? To let him know I miss him, said Tsunade, hoping her teammate could track down Naruto one more time. Not possible. The only reason I found Naruto is because he wanted me to find him, and when I did, he was not the same kid we knew Tsunade. All I saw were his eyes when we talked, and even then I still feel a cold shiver running up my spine just by thinking about it, said Jiraiya, shuddering when he pictured Naruto's new set of eyes that were clearly from the Kyuubi, since they were red just like the Kyuubis. So it is true. Naruto has become what he said he would be, thought Tsunade, as she now shivered as well, remembering Anko and Guy's mission report 3 years ago, at how Naruto declared himself the son of Kyuubi with his eyes becoming red slit like the fox. The future king of all demons had returned to the human world. Wave Country. Naruto watched from the shadows as a group of no more than 2 Chunins and 1 Jounin Leaf Shinobis performed a C-rank mission for their Hokage. It was a simple guarding of a food supply wagon, though the demon prince wondered why shinobi of such high rank would perform such a low-ranked mission. Maybe the old hag was heading back to the basics and having Leaf Shinobi become re-educated in what they had first learned? Or at least something close to what he had suggested to that one shinobi he backhanded from behind. After Naruto had spoken to the Fire Daimyo about certain matters concerning the ever-infamous organization Akatsuki, Orochimaru, Sasuke, and then finally the council in Konoha, things had changed. The Fire Daimyo seemed to have figured out just who he had been speaking to, since there was no one better to address the issue of one Uzumaki Naruto than the man himself. The Fire Daimyo was neither stupid nor blind in seeing the signs of it during the conversation, as he heard the pain in Naruto's voice on more than one of several occasions they conversed. By the time the conversation ended, the Fire Daimyo had decided to make Naruto his own personal advisor on matters of his country, since all Naruto wanted to do was help people. The Demon Fox Prince was honored by the idea of being in the Fire Daimo service, since it would give him experience for when he ruled over Demon World. And as they say, for one to lead, one must learn to follow. Yash! Now that our youthful mission is complete, we must return soon, Shikamaru-sen, so we can give our report to Hokage-sama, said the Jounin, who was either Lee or his sensei, though from the sound of the man's voice Naruto guessed the former. Your way of youthfulness is too troublesome for a guy like me, Lee, said Shikamaru, who seemed quite satisfied and stay at Chunin, though knowing the boy's mother, she'll nag him into being a Jounin, like his lazy-ass dad. Maybe we should stay for one day, so we can enjoy ourselves before we return. We're not in any hurry to get back from Konoha, so there is no need to rush, said the soft voice of one Hyuga Hinata, who, like Shikamaru, also wore a Chunin vest, meaning that she had advanced quite a bit since Naruto had spoken to her. Hinata, you've grown so much since I last saw you, thought Naruto, who found her face and figure to be a work of art created from an angel by the order of Kami himself. At that moment, Naruto had to see her. No, he needed to see her. With Hinata, the Hyuga heiress walked through the streets of Wave Country, finding her thoughts were jumbled and her mind distant as of late concerning her home in Konoha. Within a few months of Naruto's leaving, the council made a public statement in revoking the late Sandaime S-class secret regarding her crush. They went further by calling him a traitor for assisting in Sasuke's defection to Orochimaru, and then called him a coward for not facing his execution like a real shinobi would. Hinata knew, of course, that what they had spoken of was not really new to her after her retrieval team's failed attempt to bring him home. Even then, the news at the time had become recently outdated, since she knew the real truth behind Naruto's so-called treasonable actions regarding Konoha. She had waited 3 years for his return to the human world, and in her heart, she would wait 300 years if that's what needed to be done to be with Naruto. Several of the rookies had told her it was just not possible to love Naruto, considering his current status in Konoha, since the people wouldn't approve. But regardless of them, the once shy Hyuga Hinata refused to love another man, and turned down every would-be suitor that came her way. The Hyuga elders had tried to set up several arranged marriages with rich, wealthy, and snobbish boys that had reputations for keeping women in line. Hayashi had put a stop to that, saying that any of them would weaken the Hyuga blood and produce children who act like pampered snobs. He also preyed on their fears that it would make Kumo go after them again for their bloodline on account of a weak generation of Hyuga being grabbed without much effort of resistance. Naruto-kun, please come back to me soon, thought Hinata, as she so desperately wanted to be in his arms again once more, kissing, hugging, and various other things that would make the toad Sennin die from blood loss if he were to bear witness to it all. Hinata, said a whisper, making the Hyuga girl become alert. Her Byakugan activated, and immediately went into her gentle fist stance. Fortunately, she had managed to be in an unoccupied street, so one would stare at what would be considered unusual behavior. Who's there? Said Hinata, her voice trying to remain calm and firm without fear. Go to water near Tazuna's house. I'll be waiting for you, said the whispery voice, now leaving Hinata alone to digest the words into her mind. Could it be Naruto-kun? Thought Hinata, before heading to Tazuna's house, having been there before to speak to the family about Naruto. A short time later, Hinata made it to Tazuna's in record time, hoping that Naruto was waiting for her, as she believed he was, and when she looked at the lake surrounding the house, she saw him. He was standing on the water wearing all dark clothing, as if he were an entity of the shadows themselves. His red eyes, though dangerous looking, were soft as he stared at her, before he raised his hand and removed the mask from the lower part of his face, revealing the deep whisker marks that seemed more defined than she last saw him. I knew you would come, Hinata, said Naruto, smiling his fox-like smile, making Hinata jump for joy inside, while on the outside, she ran to him with her instincts, allowing her to channel chakra to her feet to run on the water to him and embrace him in a full-fledged hug. Naruto-kun, I missed you so much, said Hinata, finding he had grown taller than her by an excessive amount. As have I you, Hinata. In my 3 years in Demon World training, I came to a revelation, if you will, with the help from a half-demon friend of mine. I realized that I had feelings for you, and that you were the one I should have pursued all those times I tried with Sakura. I was a stupid fool back then, who had become so blind that I couldn't see the truth that was you, Hinata. Not until you were standing right in front of me, said Naruto, breathing in her scent and loving the smell of lavenders that came off her body. I'm partially to blame too, Naruto-kun. I was so shy and scared back then that I thought you would reject me if I confessed my feelings. But now, after all that's happened, we can finally be together, said Hinata, looking up at Naruto, who smiled down at her and gave her a kiss right on the lips. Together forever, said Naruto after breaking the kiss before kissing her again, with her returning it with equal force. Will you come back with me to Konoha, Naruto-kun? Tsunade-sama really wants you to return to see you again, said Hinata, knowing that the protection order from the Fire Lord would protect him from the Council's attempt at execution. Regretfully, I cannot return just yet to be with you and see the old hag once more. There are still the remaining members of Akatsuki after me that need to be dealt with by the end of the year, said Naruto, looking at Hinata's slightly sad face. But he knew that she knew that until the organization was destroyed, everyone he cared about was open game. Tsunade-sama is trying to take the best of all the Rookie 9 and 2 of their senseis together to form a team to look for your group to recruit in the future, should we need your help, said Hinata, knowing he was the leader of the Shinigami Shadows, since only her Naruto could be such a leader. Then I expect you to be a part of that group. Also, I need you to stall her for a good 2 years before seeking me out. Even after we kill all the members of Akatsuki, there is still the cleanup job my team and I need to do to make sure that the organization is not able to be resurrected again by some wannabe rulers of the world, said Naruto, knowing he had to make sure such unbalance in the world never got out of hand again as long as he was in human world. I understand, Naruto-kun. I'm just glad I could see you as much as I did now after all this time away from you, said Hinata, holding on to him tightly, afraid he would disappear. Tell me about Konoha. How have things gotten since I was away? Said Naruto, wanting to change the topic to put Hinata's mind away from their long 3-year absence from one another. Kakashi-san was demoted down to Chunin, and Sakura had to be re-educated back at the academy after Tsunade-sama re-evaluated their performances regarding Team 7. Sakura graduated easily due to her book smarts, but she is still shallow and thinks you were the reason Sasuke left Konoha. Jiraiya was given orders by the council to find you and kill you should the opportunity ever arise, but I knew he would never carry out those orders. Tsunade-sama tried to stop them, but the majority of them overruled her decision against it, so she couldn't do anything. They also revoked the Sandame's law against you, so now all of Konoha knows of your secret concerning Kyuubi being inside of you, said Hinata, seeing the reactions of the various people inside Konoha, and saw them look fearful with others simply curious about her love, wondering if he was the Kyuubi or not. So the asshole didn't tell the village about me being Kyuubi's son, said Naruto, smiling, knowing that news would possibly scare the village quite literally to death. No, Tsunade-sama made sure they kept that piece of information out of the speech after my team gave their report after failing to bring you back. The council couldn't try to use that part against you with the villagers on account of Tsunade-sama would tell them all about who your biological father was, but I fear sooner or later they will find out and not care simply because of Kyuubi, said Hinata, knowing that when Naruto did return to Konoha, it would get out that Naruto's father was now the very demon that nearly destroyed the Leaf Village. I'll settle for the later in terms of those two choices. Does anyone suspect that I am the leader of the Shinigami Shadows? Said Naruto, wondering if Tsunade or Jiraiya figured it out. No. However, I think Tsunade or Jiraiya suspected deep down, though they won't admit it to anyone either out of denial or respect for you. According to the official information we have that came from the capital of Fire Country, you were summoned by the Fire Daimo himself, just days after he was rumored to have met with the leader of the 5 Shinigami Shadows. The council is under the assumption that you were staying in the capital in secret to avoid detection from the hunter ninjas they sent out to find you, said Hinata, knowing that the council had sent the best hunter ninja team in Konoha to search every rock and hole to find Naruto, but they all failed miserably. Well, once they see the new me, they're going to be in for a horrible shock, said Naruto, chuckling before kissing her again, making Hinata feel like the whole world was finally going her way. Capital of Fire Country Daimyo's castle. 1 week later. I take it I can't convince you to change your mind? Said the Fire Daimyo, walking along the gardens with Naruto beside him and his group a few feet back, acting as bodyguards for both men. I'm afraid it can't be helped, Daimyo-sama. Akatsuki is looking for me, and know I am in Fire Country, residing here with you at your castle. Make no mistake, I do not doubt the skills of your men or their ability to defend you should it come down to that, but I will not have the life of those men that serve you die for me. Not when they don't have a good enough reason to other than the fact I am acting as your advisor and I have my own team to help watch my back, said Naruto, knowing the warriors that serve the daimyo fight for him, but not for the advisors that serve him. Unfortunately, you are right about all those things, Naruto-sama, and I wish that I could convince you to stay longer. But as you said, there are too many enemies after you that not even I can stop. My order of protection for you will stand with the Leaf Village should they try to do anything, and you are always welcome to come back to continue being my advisor after this is over, said the Fire Daimyo, knowing that the suggestions that Naruto made concerning policies and trade with other countries were pure genius. Until we meet again, Daimyo-sama, said Naruto, bowing his head to the man, which the feudal lord did as well, considering he knew of the young warrior's ascension to being the future king of all demons. It would only be wise to show the young man the respect he deserved that had been long overdue. Without another word, Naruto, along with the other 4 warriors he called his comrades and friends, vanished from sight to take care of the nuisance that was Akatsuki. Konoha 4 days later. Tsunade sat in her office, glad to see the C-ranked mission she have the team went off without a hitch, but after it was over she wanted Hinata to stay for further talks. As the Hokage's apprentice, the Hyuga heiress could not say no to her even if she wanted to. The Hokage had seen the Hyuga girl had a look of peace, almost serenity-like look on her face that had been missing for the past 3 years. And the last time Tsunade saw Hinata with such a look, it was the last time she had spoken to Naruto. "What is it you wish to speak with me about, Hokage-sama?" said Hinata with a small feeling of nervousness under the seemingly knowing gaze of the Hokage. "How was your time in Wave Country, Hinata?" said Tsunade, setting up her questions in her head to trap the Hyuga girl if she decided to less than receptive in her response. "Good. I saw Tazuna and his family again. They're all doing well," said Hinata, trying to answer the question carefully to not bring up anything that may jeopardize her love. Hokage's office, or not the walls, had unwelcomed ears. "I see. Did you run into anyone else while you were in Wave Country?" said Tsunade, her eyes twinkling with something that Hinata didn't like. "I really don't know anyone else in Wave Country, Tsunade-sama," said Hinata, keeping her composure strong as to not give away what had happened between her and Naruto. "Oh, not even Naruto," said Tsunade, hoping to get the reaction she was looking for, which she did in the form of a blush rising slowly to her cheeks. "Tsunade-sama," said Hinata, trying to think of an excuse, but her mind shut down for some reason. "Just tell me he was all right," said Tsunade, looking at the girl increase her shade of red by several colors. "Oh, he was more than just all right," thought Hinata, closing her eyes, remembering how good it felt to be in Naruto's arms. The feel of his muscles under his dark clothes, and his lips kissing her made her want melt into the ground. "I take it by the look of bliss on your face that your answer is a yes," said Tsunade, with a small hint of amusement in her voice, and on her face at the glow Hinata now had all over her form. All the poor girl could do was nod before Tsunade let her go. Elsewhere, 2 weeks later, Pain, Konan, and Toby, as he was called, made their way through the vast forest of trees that stood everywhere around them, leaping from tree branch to tree branch. Pain had received a message from Itachi that he had discovered the group the leader of Akatsuki was looking for had been gone deep into the Land of Spirits. The Land of Spirits was considered both a holy as well as unholy place, though it really depended on one's own religious beliefs, since the land was rumored to be a combination of sacred and evil energy that dwelled in symbiotic balance with one another. It was also rumored that this place was where spirits could leave the spiritual realm to temporarily interact with the people of the living. Among the 3 members of Akatsuki, only one of them found it amusing that he would be here at such a place once more. The 3 S-Class missing ninja entered the forest clearing to meet up with Itachi and Kisame to further increase the strength of their group to crush the Shinigami shadows. "Where the hell are those 2 idiots? It's always something with them that keeps them from meeting with us on time," said Konan, frowning as she looked around for the Uchiha and former swordsman of the mist. "Patience, Konan. They may be late sometimes, but they are reliable when it matters," said Pain, grinning at the thought of Konan beating up Itachi and Kisame simply for being a few minutes late. The grin left when mist settled in around the 3 Akatsuki members. Kisame never used the hidden mist jutsu when he and Itachi arrived. "It was a trap. You really shouldn't be so trustworthy of a message you receive simply because it holds the Akatsuki symbol on it," said Naruto, making a shadowy appearance through the mist with Yujito right behind him. "I see. So Itachi and Kisame have been slain," said Pain without much emotion to the matter, since those were the risks of being such a high-class missing ninja. No, we're actually going after them after we kill all of you. But if you want someone to blame, then blame the one known as Zetsu. How do you think we could locate all of you and trick as you as we did? Naruto-sama entered his mind and let him talk with Kyubi, so they could have a little heart-to-heart about certain things, said Yujito, cracking her neck and looking at Konan behind her mask. You seem pretty confident of yourselves considering of you are outclassed, said Konan, throwing a kunai behind her into the mist only to hear a clang sound, and the same kunai was sent back to her, which she caught. We are far from impressed with you considering all the other members fell so easily, said Zabuza, letting out a chuckle through the mist, letting it echo for that fear-inducing effect it always had. We expected more from them just as we did from you, said Haku through the mist, his two weapons at the ready. Now it's time for you all to die in the name of the future Demon King. Kyubi Naruto, said Kimimaro, creating two bone swords with his palms. Don't become overconfident just because you think you have us outnumbered and are more powerful than us. Out of all the members of Akatsuki, we are the strongest, said Pain before nodding to Tobi, who removed his mask to reveal himself as someone who was supposed to have died at the hands of Shodame Hokage. Uchiha Madara, so you are Kyubi's heir? You certainly have your father's eyes from what I can see with my one, said Madara, his Sharingan, eye glowing as he gazed at Naruto's. As I suspected from what father told me, you are the founder of the Uchiha clan, and the reason Kyubi attacked Konoha, making them all hate me after he was sealed away, said Naruto, as his eyes glowing deep red themselves, and he let out a growl at the man before him. Oh, he told you that? Not surprising, I suppose, since it's really only natural a father tells his son everything concerning his enemies. I'm sure you are also surprised that I am alive considering I am just over 100 years old, give or take a few decades. But just so you know, at the time of my defeat at the hands of the Shodame, I had actually died in quite the physical sense. However, when I did in fact die, my spirit refused to and made its way to this very place in order to survive and feed off the darkness that surrounded it. After many years, when I was strong enough, I left this land to see how Konoha was doing, and much to my surprise, I find out that war had come to the Leaf Village. By this time, one man, along with his Genin team, were in trouble fighting off IWA Shinobi, and with this one Genin in particular, who just so happened to be an Uchiha, being labeled Kia after a boulder came crashing on a half of his skull. The boy's name was Uchiha Obito, who gave his life to save one Inuzuka Rin and one Hitaki. Kakashi, said Madara, grinning at the Fox Prince while Naruto narrowed his eyes at the founder of the arrogant clan. That explains why Kakashi has the Sharingan eye and why he favored Sasuke so much over Team 7 as a whole, said Naruto, scowling further, knowing he and Kakashi were going to have a very long talk about playing favorites that causes Psycho Uchihas to come out of the woodwork. Yes, I believe the Inuzuka did the procedure from what my spirit saw, and when they left the boy to die under the weight of the boulder when it was all done. Now I know you believe me to be heartless, but unlike Itachi, I won't simply let a good Uchiha, no matter how strong or weak they are, with such potential go to waste. Within the second the poor boy had died, I took control of what became to be my new body, and since I am the very original founder of the Uchiha clan, and all those with its bloodline descended from me, the body had no problem embracing its new owner, said Madara, knowing that had it been anyone else other than a body of an Uchiha's spirit would be rejected in a matter of moments. That also explains why you haven't been rejected like Orochimaru is by the bodies he's taken over the years, said Naruto, looking at the other two, and noticed the woman of the group was still shocked from seeing someone like Madara alive. That Sannin is an idiot, and the only reason we let him into the organization was because he was one of our stronger members at the time when we were first started out. However, that was before Itachi and several of the others had joined us that made Orochimaru seem weak by comparison. It was only after Orochimaru tried to take Itachi's Sharingan that we as a group decided to cut him loose. But he surprisingly escaped, if just barely, with the loss of his original hand as proof of his survival, said Madara, knowing that if it were not for carrying out their plans on schedule, the Sannin would have been eliminated by now. We've spent enough time talking then. Prepare to permanently die, Uchiha, said Naruto, taking the long Nodachi sword out of the sheath on his back while his left hand, hidden in his cape, went through one-handed hand signs. Just try, demon brat. I'll make you act like a dog with my Sharingan before I'm through with you, said Uchiha Madara, rushing to engage Naruto in battle with a now unsheathed katana, while Pain activated his bloodline and Konan prepared to fight Yujito. Demonic Fox Art. Tree of the Damned Jutsu, said Naruto, his eyes glowing. He let out an immense amount of chakra that surrounded them all before a demonic tree suddenly erupted from the ground behind Madara, and vines instantly wrapped around him. Acting quickly, Madara went through his own one-handed hand signs and suddenly burst into flames before appearing out of them seconds later with the demon tree behind him still burning. That was my inner Phoenix Flame Jutsu that I created for just such an emergency. It covers me entirely in fire, but I use my chakra and my affinity for it to prevent me from being burned while anything or anyone attached to me dies a horrible fiery death, said Madara, smiling at Naruto, who kept himself calm knowing that the true battle was just starting, and only when it was over should he be concerned with his health. With Yujito and Konan. With Yujito, she was having an easier time than she though against Konan, since the woman would use her strange paper-like powers on her. However, the Nibi vessel would simply burn them all to ashes before moving in with her 2 fireproof sais in each hand. Konan herself was having a difficult time despite her skills and her time spent with pain training to be as strong as she was. The Nibi vessel was using her demonic chakra that was at her disposal to superheat her weapons when she moved in for close-range combat. It forced the only female of Akatsuki to fall back and use the various jutsus she knew to hold her off. The mist around them wasn't helping. Earth-style, Dragon Spikes Cannon Jutsu, said Konan, summoning a dragon that shot wave after wave of spikes made up of hard dirt at Yujito. Demonic Weapons Art. Nibi Fire Shield Jutsu, said Yujito, now generating a large amount of the Nibi's chakra combined with her 2 sais, rotating in her hands in perfect sync to create a dome-like fire shield against the attack. Zabuza, Haku, and Kimimaro fighting Pain. As for Pain himself, he found that he was currently surrounded by Kimimaro, Haku, and Zabuza, with each one looking to carve him up into pieces. You really don't think you can stand up to my bloodline, do you? It's the 3rd legendary bloodline to rival the Uchihas and the Hyuga, said Pain, calmly looking at Haku in front of him while Zabuza and Kimimaro were to his sides. You don't think we didn't do a little research on each and every one of you guys before we engage you all here today? Your bloodline has to be forcibly activated just like the Uchihas, but it's just as powerful like the Hyugas, and just like any bloodline of that nature, you need to see them, said Zabuza, before he thickened the mist around them, knowing that Haku and Kimimaro had no problem with it. You think thickening the mist will affect my bloodline when it can manipulate the very elements themselves? Let's see how you handle the 6 paths to pain, said Pain, before 5 more bodies appeared around him, each with orange hair and each with the Rinnegan in their eyes activated. Secret Jutsu, Demonic Ice Mirrors, said Haku, surrounding all 6 Pains in his mirrors and threw Senbon needles at them all from every direction. You think this weak bloodline can stop me? Granted, it is an impressive technique for such a weak bloodline, but it still won't stop me from killing the real you with my eyes, said Pain, acting like the needles had done nothing to him or his other 5 personas. You belief in me trying to harm you with these needles will be your downfall. They are merely the distraction, said Haku, as the usually thick mist was already covering up his form in the mirrors while hiding Kimimaro and Zabuza as well. If you are referring to your 2 partners in here with you, then I am well aware of them being in here thanks to one of my 5 Pain bodies, and I can sense their chakra levels, said Pain calmly, though he did find the mist was becoming highly annoying. Then we just have to kill them until we get to the real you, said Zabuza, before going after 2 Pain bodies at a time, with Haku and Kimimaro doing the same as well. Back with Naruto and Madara. Naruto had engaged himself with a sword fight with Madara, who, despite having only 1 Sharingan, I was having trouble with the Fox Prince. It could have been for the fact that Naruto was much stronger than the Uchiha gave him credit for, but it could also have been because Naruto had his eyes closed the entire time. When Naruto returned from Demon World, he knew he would have to one day face Itachi in combat and deal with the true form of the Sharingan Eyes the Man, who was the slayer of own clan possessed. To that end, Naruto had asked Zabuza how he had successfully, to a certain point, battled Kakashi's own Sharingan. The second time, the 2 fought on the bridge in Wave Country. According to the former demon of the Bloody Mist, by keeping one's eyes closed prevents the Sharingan from counteracting close hand-to-hand or possibly weapon-to-weapon movements. The Sharingan eyes needed to see the eyes of its opponents in order to create a counteraction against an offensive measure. It was one of the few weaknesses of the Sharingan eyes that the Uchiha clan would most likely wish to keep only to themselves if they were all still alive, with the exception being for the last three. The thick mist Zabuza was maintaining at the moment was another factor that crippled the Sharingan, since it prevented from seeing properly to use its great power against an opponent. These two factors alone were probably the only reason why Naruto was now holding his own against the founder of the Uchiha clan, aside from his already sharp and deadly skills. You were stronger than I gave you credit for, boy. If only I had taken you into the fold of the organization, I could have made you into one fine shinobi before we extracted the Kyuubi from you, said Madara, before dodging a horizontal slash, only to counter with an upward thrust that Naruto dodged and countered with a spin kick, hitting Uchiha Madara successfully in the head, sending him rolling along the grass. Never disrespect my father like that, and speaking his name as if he were nothing but scum, because I will not tolerate it in the slightest, said Naruto through the mist, his killer intent rising, knowing that his father of a demon lord deserved more respect than he was given by a fool like Madara, who thought they could become gods. If you feel that I am somehow disrespecting your so-called father of a demon lord, boy, then please by all means do something about it, said Madara, grinning despite the scars on his face from the previous host's wounds activating the pain receptors of his nerves. Famous last words, Uchiha team, said Naruto, his words echoing throughout the mist before he reappeared behind the unsuspecting Uchiha and sliced him vertically in half, just as Madara turned after sensing him from behind, only to realize seconds into his death he had moved to the left, the side without an eye that was his blind spot. Do you really think this will stop me, Fox Prince? As long as there is an Uchiha in the world I can possess, I will live on through them, said the spirit of Madara, as his dark, spiritually corrupted form left the body it inhabited, with its taint being felt by all around him. This time, Madara, your spirit will die with your body. Demonic secret art, Damnation's spiritual palm, Vortex Jutsu, said Naruto, as he raised his left hand, creating a black hole-like vortex that began sucking in the spirit of Madara. What are you doing? Stop. I command you, said Madara, tried to somehow fight off the spirit-sucking portal that drew him into the unknown inside. You can't command me, Madara. But to answer your question, I'm sending you deep into hell, where you belong, via a little shortcut my father taught me, as a just-in-case type of jutsu, should you try to live on after your body was destroyed, said Naruto, increasing the vortex's strength to pull in Madara's spirit even more. The dark spirit of Uchiha Madara continued to struggle, but all of the spirit's resistance only pulled it in sooner into the dark abyss. It seemed quite fitting for the dark entity that was considered more evil than the Kyuubi, and soon the dark spirit of the first Uchiha met his demise at the hands of the son of the fox that had been used to set things in motion for the original fall of Konoha. Soon there was another scream of pain from the female variety of the shinobi, but it was fortunate for Naruto that he had recognized that it was not Yujito's voice. Thus it meant that it was the woman from Akatsuki that let out the painfully sounding yell, and if he was correct, then she was ultimately dead. The damn bitch cut deep into my mask with that origami paper shit she does, said an angry Yujito, slightly upset that her treasure mask from the rakeage had been damaged in the fight despite knowing the risks involved when wearing it. She's dead now, Yujito-san, so there is really no point in fussing over something that can be fixed later, and we have more important matters concerning pain, said Naruto, looking at the ashes that were once Konan, before he and Yujito went to assist in the defeat of Pain. Back with Pain, Pain found that Haku's demonic ice mirrors were not as weak as he thought they were, as the speed of a young man seemed to be faster than he originally thought. Not only that, but the speed both Zabuza and Kimimaro possessed seemed to be enhanced when in the Dun of Ice. It was almost as if Haku was somehow allowing them to move faster than normal even for them, and was making fighting them all the more difficult. The greatest confusion Pain found when using all of his forms against them was that his bloodline was somehow unable to cancel out Haku's own, considering it was an elemental bloodline. The Rinnegan Master felt that he was missing something that he had not seen before, and when he suddenly felt a pulse, he looked down to see the source of it all. A seal. Not just any seal, mind you, but a demon seal that was only whispered by only the oldest of seal masters before Jiraiya and the Yondaime came around. It was a secret legend that dated back to the days of the Shodaime himself, when he was a boy. The rumored origin behind the making of seals by humans came from the 9 demons lords themselves, who blessed such knowledge and wisdom to those they deemed worthy. The problem in doing that came later after the 9 demon lords had that same knowledge they taught now turned against them many years later as they were sealed up one by one to have their powers used as weapons in human bodies when war came. However, what Pain was standing in was no mere human seal, but the genuine article of what a demon would make given the time needed to create one. I see you notice the seal we place on the area around us. Despite the mist hiding it and the battle itself, I half expected that you would sense the pulse it gave off every once in a while. This seal I had created before you arrived is activated by the sealer's chakra, that when his active messes with the person or people's abilities and bloodlines depending on the sealer's choice of who to affect with it. In this case, I chose your Rinnegan bloodline in terms of manipulating the elements around you and preventing you from using them to your advantage, said Naruto, appearing with Yujito from the mist as they entered the demonic ice mirrors. I cannot fall. I cannot die. I am a god amongst men and women everywhere. I am the Almighty they must worship to gain my favor, said Pain, feeling the frustration of the being pressed into such a corner. Really? Well, it seems you are one god that will not be worshipped when we deliver you to the people, who will pay us a lot of money for your corpse. All 6 of them, said Haku, feeling a mean streak inside of him that had been developing throughout the 3 years now surfacing once more as he threw several Senbon needles at the various Pain's eyes, hitting them dead, on making the leader of Akatsuki scream out in, ironically, pain. Ninja art. Chains of the underworld jutsu, said Kimimaro before slamming his palms from both hands down, making black heavily spiked chains wrap around all 6 Pains up from head to toe in the deadly-looking metal. No, this cannot be happening. I am a god, yelled Pain with each of his other 5 forms struggling, as well only to be heavily damaged by the spikes digging into their skin. In some cases, Pain-san, even gods can die, said Naruto before snapping his fingers, and Zabuza took their heads clean off one by one, making them lifeless bodies. All that was left was Itachi and Kisame. Konoha. 3 weeks later, Tsunade had been staring at the report handed to her for a good 15 minutes with her mind, not truly believing what she was reading, only to look up at a serious-looking Jiraiya. She saw his head nod to confirm that the report was indeed true, and that with the exception of 2, all the members of Akatsuki were dead. Only Itachi and Kisame now remained, and even then it seemed that it was only a matter of time before they too were caught by the Shinigami shadows and eventually killed. The council had demanded that Tsunade offer Itachi and, if need be, Kisame's sanctuary in the hope that it would draw out Sasuke, as well as the Shinigami shadows. Tsunade, of course, would have none of that since she did not want Itachi or Kisame to suddenly break free and take out another clan like the Hyugas or Naras. Besides, the real reason the council wanted Itachi alive in the first place was to use him to revive the Uchiha clan instead of Sasuke, since the older of the 2 was clearly stronger. Do you know where they both are, Jiraiya? Said Tsunade, knowing that wherever the 2 were then, the Shinigami shadows were not far behind. No. Either they quit Akatsuki, being the only 2 remaining members, and they went their separate ways, or they are still together in order to have better odds of staying alive. We'll find out if they are alive or dead soon enough when they resurface, though I imagine even they are shaken to the core at the news concerning the other deceased members just as we are, said Jiraiya, knowing that Itachi and Kisame couldn't stay hidden forever. Hokage-sama, Jiraiya-sama, we need you at the gate immediately, said a now panting Chunin, who had been running from whatever post he had been to report to the female Fire Shadow. Why? What's wrong? Said Tsunade, hoping it wasn't some kind of invasion from IWA or Orochimaru since they didn't need it right now. They're here. Itachi and Kisame are here. And they're dying, said the Chunin, who was not really able to comprehend the fact that 2 of the most notorious missing ninja in the elemental countries were outside their doorstep in such a weakened state. The 2 Sannin were gone from the room instantly to investigate this matter, since it was hard for them to believe it themselves. Indeed, it was a sight to see as a mangled Kisame was trying to help an even worse, if that was possible, Itachi through the gates as their blood was leaving a trail behind them as it left the bodies. It had formed quite a crowd of shinobi, and some civilians that managed to see it before the large form of Kisame collapsed onto the ground, his eyes practically rolling up in the back of his head from the pain. "Hoshigaki Kisame and Uchiha Itachi, you are under arrest for," said Tsunade, only to see Itachi roll over for his face to be revealed, or rather the lack thereof. The Uchiha clan killer barely had a face or skin to go with it. His eyes had been removed from their sockets, his tongue ripped out, his nose broken nearly clean off, his ears non-existent, and his jaw was swollen with mostly broken in multiple places. The rest of his body looked like someone had put him through a rust meat grinder, as he had been sliced, cut, stabbed, and had broken bones in every major part of his body. Kisame was no better, and since he was the larger as well as considered tougher of two in terms of physique, he looked like he was on his last leg, ready to die at any moment. His body had a few less cuts than Itachi did, but his prized sword Samehada that he proudly used in battle that could eat chakra was broken about half the original length. His scaly blue left arm was missing along the elbow, and the only reason he wasn't dying from the immense blood loss right now was because someone had burned the flesh to prevent that from happening. Both his legs looked like someone had repeatedly stabbed him over and over again until they had more holes than Swiss cheese. "You're the Hokage and an unrivaled medic ninja, right? Then help us. For the love of Kami, help us," said Kisame as he struggled to get up, only to fall back down with the sound of another bone breaking, possibly one that is already removed from its original position within his bodily structure. Someone beat the living crap out of him. But why come here? Thought Jiraiya, frowning at the two, knowing there was no Genjutsu on them to make them look like that, and that their injuries, though real, were not self-inflicted. Itachi's lack of a face was proof of that. "Who did this to you? Tell me, and I'll consider it," said Tsunade, knowing at this point the man would sell out his own mother just to live another day. "Don't make me speak his name. I don't care if I die, but please don't make me speak his name," said Kisame, whimpered out of his mouth before puking up some blood along with some chunk of flesh and what might have been bone. "One person did this to both you," said Jiraiya, knowing that one person to do this to two incredible powerful shinobi was beyond that of a Sannin or Kage. "Yes. At first, when he told us that all the other members of Akatsuki except for us were dead, I told him he was out of his mind. But when he showed us their corpses, it was only then Itachi and I realized that this guy was for real." Itachi thought the same thing. But before we could try to get away, we were soon surrounded in a barrier of chakra. I tried to use Samehada on it, but it too thick for my sword to eat, and when I looked into his eyes, I saw a demon, said Kisame, with the last four words being heard only by both Jiraiya and Tsunade. "What did you say?" said Tsunade, looking down at the shark man as she tried to heal him, while her assistant Shizen had arrived to assist in saving Itachi. I looked into his eyes as he fought us, and I saw the demon where his soul should have been. Itachi tried to use his Sharingan on him, but when he did, the man's eyes exploded soon after, right before my own, as he screamed in pain. It was with that move in itself that was quite possibly the pre-verbal beginning of the end for us in that one-sided fight, said Kisame, his eyes now filled with fear that Tsunade and Jiraiya didn't think was possible for such a crazy swordsman from Mist. "What is his name?" "We can protect you," said Tsunade, not believing she was actually considering protecting the very people from the organization that was once after her little brother. "I can't speak his name. He forbids me from telling you, knowing that I would seek help from you, knowing that as a doctor you were honor-bound to heal me," said Kisame, not wanting to speak the name of the one who had sent him and Itachi so close to death. "Can Itachi at least be used to breed new Uchihas?" said Danzo, knowing that the hope of getting at least one Uchiha under his control was a good possibility. "You can't," said Kisame, alarmed, as if what the scarred man was asking would bring about the end of creation. "Why?" said Tsunade, and she could have sworn along with Shizen that Itachi himself let out a whimper of fear. "He told us if one person who was chosen to give birth to an Uchiha, he would come here to kill Itachi, me for my failure to stop it, and the woman herself that would be carrying the child," said Kisame, not wanting to give his attackers any reason to come after him. "Who is this attacker of yours? Speak his name," said Danzo in a commanding tone, as he was tired of this fear-induced resistance to the question that remained unanswered. "Kami, please forgive me for what I am about to do and what I've resisted in doing from the start. The man who did this to us is the leader of the 5 Shinigami Shadows. He goes by the name of the Shinigami King. said Kisame before his head fell back against the ground and he finally fell into blissful unconsciousness. Not far within the forest, just outside the gate, a single figure with a cloak and mask heard the entire confession of one Hoshigaki Kisame. His master would be most pleased and also disappointed in Kisame for spilling his guts like that, believing the shark man could at least suffered through some interrogation before cracking. Though the figure supposed that given the wrath his leader delivered upon the two, it was only natural that Kisame just tell them now than the later. So they now know the name of the person behind the Shinigami shadows, though only by his nickname. However, if and when they learn his true identity, only then will they truly fear Naruto-sama. On that day, it will be the beginning of what will soon be their judgment day for the Leaf Village as well as all others who played the part in his pain, thought Haku, now scowling at the place that his master once admired so. Looking up at the 5 Hokage heads of the monument, Haku could only wonder before leaving the area what the faces would like, covered in the blood of Naruto's enemies. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed exploring this what if with me. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. Your support truly makes a difference, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you'd like to see next. Until next time, take care and stay tuned for more.